Once upon a time, in a small, humble cottage nestled at the very edge of a vast, whispering forest, there lived a kind-hearted woodcutter with his two children, Hansel and Gretel. Their home was cozy, but times had grown harsh, and the pantry often stood bare. The children, however, never complained. They found joy in the smallest of things, Hansel with his clever mind, Gretel with her gentle heart. One chilly evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of rose and violet, Hansel and Gretel sat near the fading fire, watching the embers glow. The silence in the cottage was heavy, broken only by the soft crackle of the wood. "Don't worry, Gretel," Hansel whispered, his voice just loud enough for her to hear. "Tomorrow we'll find something magical in the forest. I just know it." Gretel smiled softly, the firelight dancing in her eyes. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I hope so, Hansel. I wish we could see a place full of sweets and sunshine where no one is ever hungry." The thought was a beautiful dream in the face of their difficult reality. The next morning, the forest seemed alive in a way it hadn't before. The air was crisp and clean. Birds sang in crystalline tones, their melodies weaving through the trees, and golden beams of sunlight fell like ribbons through the branches, illuminating the dew on the leaves. Their father, though weary and anxious, packed a small loaf of bread for them to share. He knelt down, kissing them both on the forehead, his love a warm and comforting weight. "Stay together," he urged, his voice trembling slightly, "and beware of wandering too far." Hansel, always cautious, had a plan. He had filled his pockets with little white pebbles from the riverbed. As they walked, he secretly dropped them one by one along the path. "These will show us the way back," he said to Gretel, his green eyes bright with determination. Gretel took his hand, feeling the warmth of his courage flow into her. His confidence made her feel a little braver. They wandered deeper into the forest than ever before. The trees grew taller and taller, their branches entwined overhead like the vaulted ceiling of a grand cathedral. Strange, beautiful flowers with colors they had never seen before dotted the mossy floor, glowing faintly in the filtered sunlight. It felt magical, almost dreamlike, and for a moment they completely forgot the worries of their home. The forest was a world of its own, full of mystery and beauty. Then a new scent reached them, carried on a gentle breeze. It was sweet and enchanting, a smell of sugar and spice that made their mouths water. Their noses twitched with delight. "Do you smell that?" Gretel breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. Hansel nodded, taking a deep breath. "It smells like candy." They followed the scent, their steps quickening with excitement. Pushing aside a curtain of leaves, they stopped in their tracks. Through the dense trees, they discovered a small cottage, unlike any they had ever seen or even imagined. The walls shimmered, made of delicious gingerbread. The roof was dusted with sparkling sugar, and the windows gleamed like polished candy glass. A warm, inviting glow spilled from the doorway, promising safety and wonder. "Oh, Hansel," Gretel gasped, her heart pounding with excitement. "It's beautiful. It's the place from my wish." Before Hansel could even speak, the door creaked open and an elderly woman appeared. Her smile was soft and kind, her eyes twinkled in the light, and her hands were warm as she beckoned them inside. "Welcome, children," she said in a gentle, crackling voice. "You must be tired and hungry from your long journey. Come, rest and have something sweet to eat." Inside, the cottage was even more wonderful. It smelled of warm cinnamon and rich vanilla. The shelves were lined with jars of glistening honey and dark, tempting chocolate. A pot of hearty stew bubbled invitingly on the hearth. Hansel and Gretel's stomachs rumbled loudly, and the old woman just chuckled kindly. They sat at a little wooden table, and she served them bowls of the delicious stew. They ate slowly, savoring each and every bite. It was the best meal they had had in a very long time. For the first time in many days, they felt completely safe, warm, and happy. But as night began to fall and shadows grew long inside the cozy cottage, Gretel noticed something strange. A different kind of shadow seemed to linger behind the old woman's eyes when she thought they weren't looking. A chill, unseen and unfelt, seemed to creep into the corners of the room. The warmth that had felt so real and welcoming now seemed fragile, like a candle flame flickering in a sudden draught. "Hansel," she whispered when the woman had turned her back, "I think we must be careful. Something doesn't feel right." The woman, who seemed to have impossibly sharp hearing, turned and smiled at them again. But it was different now, a little too wide, a little forced. "Rest now, children. Sleep well. Tomorrow there will be even more wonderful treats for you." Later that night, as they lay in their soft beds, Gretel couldn't sleep. She woke to the sound of the woman humming a low, strange, and unsettling tune. It was nothing like a lullaby. Peeking from under her blanket, she saw the old woman moving silently, who was still fast asleep. In the flickering firelight, Gretel saw something glinting in the woman's hand, a crooked, sharp knife. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped Gretel's heart. She knew she had to act, and she had to act now. Summoning every ounce of courage she possessed, she slipped out of bed. Her heart was hammering against her ribs, but her mind was clear. She grabbed a heavy iron pan from the hearth. It was heavier than she expected, but her fear gave her strength. With a deep breath, she crept up behind the woman and swung the pan with all her might. The pan connected with a loud clang. The old woman cried out and stumbled backward, tripping over a rug and crashing to the floor. The knife clattered harmlessly away into the shadows. The noise woke Hansel instantly. He sat up, his eyes wide with alarm. "Gretel, what happened? Are you all right?" "Yes," Gretel said, her voice shaking but firm. She ran to him and grabbed his hand tightly. "We have to leave now." Without another thought, they ran out of the candy cottage and back into the dark forest. The moonlight guided them, casting a silver glow on the leaves and lighting their way. In the pale light, Hansel's trail of white pebbles from earlier shone faintly, like little stars on the forest floor, pointing them home. At last, through the trees, they saw the warm, familiar glow of a lantern. It was their cottage. Their father was standing outside, pacing back and forth, his face etched with worry. When he saw them, he cried out their names, and tears streamed down his face as he ran to embrace them. "My children, my children, I feared I had lost you forever." Gretel hugged him back, her own cheeks wet with tears of relief. "We're safe, father, we're safe." Hansel smiled at his sister, his eyes full of pride and love. "And we learned something important," he said softly, his voice full of a new wisdom. "Even when the world seems full of shadows, courage, love, and hope can guide us home." From that day on, the family worked together, their bond stronger than it had ever been. They still faced hardships, but they faced them as one, and their little cottage was always filled with laughter, kindness, and warmth. The forest, once a source of fear, became a place of wonder and adventure for them. A constant reminder that bravery and cleverness could lead to joy. And so Hansel and Gretel grew up with hearts full of courage and love, knowing that even the darkest paths could lead back to the light, and that together they could overcome anything. The moral of their story lingered in their hearts, a timeless truth for all of us. No matter how lost you may feel, remember that love, courage, and clever thinking will always be the compass that leads you back to safety and to happiness. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of courage and wonder. We'll see you next time.